It was a cold, dark night. The city was quiet, but not empty. Far in the corner of an alley, next to a broken trash bin, something moved. It was a woman, but not human. Her skin was pale blue. Her eyes were large and black. Her arms were thin, almost like bones. Her long coat was old and dirty, torn in many places. She looked tired. Very tired. She was digging through the trash. Her hands shook as she picked up a half-eaten sandwich. She smelled it. Then, carefully, she put it inside her coat. Her fingers touched something else, a small round metal object. It looked strange, glowing faintly. She quickly hid it in her pocket behind her. A soft sound. She turned. A small child, no older than 2, sat wrapped in a thin blanket. His skin was the same color as hers. His big black eyes looked at her without blinking. He was not crying. But he was very hungry. She gave him the sandwich. He ate it fast, holding it with both hands like treasure. The mother looked around nervously. Humans didn't like her kind. She had come here from far, far away. She had no home, no name, just her child. And fear. Suddenly, a light. A flashlight beam hit her face. She froze. Footsteps. Heavy boots. A man walked into the alley. Tall, beard on his face, wearing an old jacket. His voice was calm. But, Fern, what are you doing here? He asked. She didn't speak. He looked at the baby, then at the half-eaten food in her hand. You're not stealing, he said. You're just surviving. Still, she said nothing. Her body was shaking. The man put down the flashlight. Slowly, he pulled something from his bag. It was a piece of bread, fresh. He took a step forward and held it out. Are you hungry? He asked. The alien mother stared at him. No one had ever asked her that before. She looked at the bread, then at her child, then back at the man. Carefully, she stepped forward and took the bread. Her fingers touched his glove. Warmth. The child made a soft sound. The man looked down at him. You can come with me, he said. I won't hurt you. The woman hesitated. Then, slowly, she nodded. They walked through the quiet streets. The woman held the baby close. She stayed behind the man, watching everything. After 20 minutes, they reached a small house on the edge of the city. Old, but safe. A red light glowed from inside. The man opened the door. Come in, he said. She stepped in carefully. The room was warm. A heater buzzed in the corner. A chair, a table, some books. Very simple, but clean. The man gave her a blanket. Then a bowl of soup. She fed her child first. He drank every drop. Then he slept in her arms. The man watched her. I live alone, he said. No family, no visitors. She looked at him. He pointed at a small paper on the wall. 3 rules were written on it. No lying, no stealing, no violence. These are my rules, he said. If you stay, you follow them. The woman nodded once. What's your name? He asked. She opened her mouth, but no sound came. Then she whispered something. Soft, broken English. Kari. The man repeated. Kari. He sat down, looked at the baby. What's his name? She whispered again. Zur. Kari held Zur close and looked at the fire. She had not felt safe in many years. The man stood up. You can sleep here tonight, he said. I'll bring some clothes in the morning. She looked at him, unsure. Why? She asked. Just one. Word. The man smiled. A sad smile, because no one helped me once, and I don't want to be like them. Kari looked away. Her hand went to her pocket. The glowing metal object was still there. She didn't tell the man about it. Not yet. Because if he knew what it was, he might stop being kind. Outside the window, a shadow moved across the sky. Something or someone was watching her. But for tonight, she was safe. The child was still asleep. His soft breath rose and fell against her shoulder. Wrapped in warm cloth, he looked peaceful for the first time in days. Kari sat in silence, her eyes scanning the small house, wooden walls, old floor. A single light bulb hanging from the ceiling. She had slept here, on this stranger's couch, and nothing bad had happened. She was not used to kindness. Not from humans. Across the room, the man stood near the kitchen counter. He was watching her. Not in fear, but in thought. He had questions. But he waited. He poured hot tea into a cup and walked over. Kari flinched a little. He stopped. Then slowly placed the cup on the table beside her. You slept without moving, he said, like someone running from something. Kari didn't answer. She looked down at her son, sir. Her whole world. The man pulled a chair and sat. I don't need to know everything, he said quietly. But if you stay here, there are only two things I need. Kari looked up. He pointed at the old paper on the wall. 2 rules. No lies. No violence. That's it, he said. Follow them and you can stay as long as you need. Kari stared at him, unsure. So simple. Too simple. She whispered, why? The man leaned back. I was a soldier once, he said. I have seen people lie and bleed. I have done both myself. His eyes grew darker. I got tired. Kari understood that feeling. Sir made a soft sound. She rocked him gently. Man pointed at her pocket. I saw it glow, he said. Last night. That round thing you picked from the trash? Kari froze. She held the object tighter. It's not dangerous. Not to you, she said. Then what is it? Kari paused. A memory, she replied. The man didn't press more. He stood up and walked to a shelf. He picked something and returned a small device, old and dusty. This records memories too, he said, smiling. But it's just a radio now. He placed it near her. I collect broken things, try to fix them. Kari looked at him for the first time. Really? Looked at, his face was marked by time. Not by age, but by loss, like hers. She took a deep breath. Your name? She asked. The man raised his brow. Didn't think you'd ask. He pointed to the corner of the room where an old nameplate sat upside down. Ben, he said. Ben. Harper. Ben, she repeated, slowly. There was something steady in his voice. Like a mountain, still, but strong, that night. After Ben fell asleep in his own room, Kari opened the glowing object in secret. It was not just a memory. It was a beacon. Tiny lights danced inside. A quiet hum filled the air. She pressed one. Button. A map appeared. Not of Earth, not of any place. Ben would know, but she knew it well. Home. What was left of it. Her planet had been destroyed, burned from the skies. Her kind hunted down, but something had followed her. She stared at the blinking ... It was moving toward them. Suddenly, the baby cried. She turned it off. Fast. Held her close. Shh, she whispered. Not yet. Not now. She rocked him gently. Outside. Wind blew through the trees. Kari looked out the window toward the stars. They had found her once. They would find her again. But this time, she was not alone. Ben was fixing a broken clock. Tiny gears. Tiny screws. His hands moved carefully. Slow, steady, patient. Across the room, Kari sat quietly. Zur was asleep again, wrapped in blankets, a soft hum from the heater in the background. The house was still, but not peaceful. Something heavy was in the air. Kari had not eaten all day. Ben noticed. You're not hungry? He asked without looking up. Kari shook her head. I'm thinking. Ben didn't ask more. She was always thinking. And watching later that evening. After Zur had gone to sleep again, Ben finally spoke. You don't need to hide it, he said. The device, I know you turn it on at night. Kari looked up. You think I didn't hear the hum? You think I don't notice when your eyes follow the stars through the window? Kari didn't move. It's not a weapon, she said softly. I know, Ben said. You would have used it already if it was. She reached into her coat slowly and placed the metal orb on the table. It was silver. Round. Smooth. The size of an apple. Tiny lights moved inside it, like stars caught in a glass storm. Ben leaned in. What does it do? Kari looked at him. It remembers, she said. She touched it. And the lights shifted. A faint image hovered above the table. A world, blue skies, Tall towers, flying ships, peaceful. Ben watched in silence. This was my home, she whispered. Before the fire came, before the hunters, the image shifted. Flames, smoke, screams. Ben's jaw tightened. Kari continued. They burned cities, took children, broke everything. She paused. I ran. I had to. Further. Ben looked at the child, still asleep in the corner. Why? You? He asked. Why are they still after you? Kari pressed her hand against the orb again. The lights dimmed. The image disappeared. There's something in Zur, she said. Something they want. Something they fear. Ben frowned. Like a power? Kari shook her head. Not power. Hope. She stood and walked toward the window. The hunters hate hope. They want fear. Silence. Obedience. She turned to Ben. If they find him ... they won't stop. Ben stood too. Crossed his arms. How close are they? Kari didn't answer. She didn't need to. She reached into the orb again. The blinking dot returned. Ben's eyes followed it. It was closer than before. They're coming, he said quietly. Kari nodded. Silence. Only the wind outside. Ben finally spoke, like a man, remembering an old version of himself. I used to believe the war was out there, in other countries, other planets. He looked at the orb. Now it's in my living room. Kari looked at him. Do you want us to leave? Ben stared at her. No. She blinked, surprised. Why? She asked. Ben took a deep breath. Because maybe Zur isn't the only one with something worth protecting. He picked up the orb gently and turned it in his hands. I don't know much about space, he said, but I know how to prepare. He placed it back on the table. We make a plan. We stay quiet. We stay ready. Kari looked at him, unsure. You believe me? Ben looked at her, eyes calm, firm. I don't think you're lying, he said. That's enough. Later that night, while the world slept, Ben went into his garage. He opened a locked chest, old, dusty. Inside, tools, wires. A gun he hadn't touched in years. He stared at it. Then at the stars through the garage window. In the house. Kari held Zur close. He slept with a smile on his face. She looked down at him, whispered something in her own language. Promise. Then her eyes turned back to the orb on the table. The blinking dot was no longer still. It was moving. Faster. Now that it started with silence. Not the peaceful kind. The kind that makes birds stop singing. The kind that makes the wind go still. Ben woke up just before sunrise. No alarm. No noise. Just something strange in the air. He looked out the window. The trees weren't moving. The city lights in the distance were flickering. In the living room. Kari was already awake. She hadn't slept. Her eyes were wide, locked on the small silver orb. On the table. It was pulsing now. Slow, steady, red light. Ben stepped closer. What's it doing? He asked. Kari didn't blink. They're here. Far away, in a dark field outside the city. Something fell from the sky. No fire. No sound. Just a black shape cutting through the clouds. It landed in the woods. Silent. Smooth. No human saw. No humans ever did. From the wreckage, something stepped out. Tall, armored, skin like metal and shadow. Not alive. Not dead. It moved without sound. Scanning the air. A red lens blinked. Target. Near. Signal. Active. Back at the house. Ben turned off the lights. What do they look like? He asked. Kari didn't answer right away. She stared into the dark. Like nightmares, she whispered. But built from machines. Ben opened a drawer. Pulled out a flashlight, a knife, an old revolver. Nothing high-tech. Just human tools. Then we make this place hard to find. He said. For the rest of the morning, they worked quietly. Curtains down. Windows covered. Heat turned off. Every sound mattered now. R sensed it. He didn't cry. He just clung to his mother's chest, silent, eyes wide. Kari kissed his head. If I tell you to run, she whispered, you run. That evening, Ben left the house alone. Just for 10 minutes. He walked to a small electronics store near the edge of the street. Broken glass, empty shelves. No staff. He grabbed batteries, a camera, wires. On the way back, he saw something strange. A cat, frozen in place. Eyes wide. It wasn't moving. Not scared. Not breathing. Just stop. Ben didn't stop walking, but he felt the cold crawl up his spine that night. Kari opened the orb again. The red dot was inside the city now, closer than ever. Ben stared at it. Where do they go first? He asked. Signals, Kari said. Technology. Power. Life. Ben paused. I have a generator in the basement, but I never used it. Kari looked at him. Now we wait. They waited. Every sound was sharper, every second slower. And then, around midnight, a faint click outside. Not loud. Not near, but enough. Kari's body went still. Zer hid beneath her cloak. Ben grabbed his flashlight and moved to the back door. Another click. Then, nothing. He opened the door a crack and looked out. No one. Just snow beginning to fall. But when he stepped forward, he saw it. A mark. Pressed into the dirt. Not a footprint. Not a shoe. A circle. With a slash through the middle. Ben didn't recognize it, but Kari did. Her face turned pale. She stepped outside and touched it. They know we're here. Inside the house, the orb changed color from red to white, a cold, blinding white. Kari picked it up fast. Shut it down. Ben stared at her. What does that mean? She answered with a single word. Tracking. Ben locked every door. Kari placed the orb in a metal box and sealed it tight. I can block the signal. For a while. Ben looked at her. How long is She didn't answer. Outside, in the woods, the hunter crouched low behind a tree. It scanned the city lights. Zoomed. Adjusted. Calculated. Its face opened slightly. Inside. No eyes. Only red. Only mission. It whispered something in a voice not made for this world. Subject. Close. Begin approach. Back in the house, Zer finally fell asleep again. Kari stayed awake, sitting near the window. Ben stood beside her, holding his old revolver. I thought my war ended 10 years ago, he said quietly. Kari didn't look at him. It just followed you home, she replied. Ben had always believed in staying out of trouble. He liked silence, tools in his hands, oil on his jacket, old songs playing on the radio. That was his world. But now, he was building traps. The basement was full of wires and rusted tools. He hadn't touched some of them in years. Now he used them like old friends. Kari watched from the stairs. Zer. In her arms. You've done this before, she said. Ben didn't stop working. Yeah, he said. Once. He laid tripwires under the windows. Sharp nails under the floor mats. He rigged a flash grenade from parts he didn't even remember owning. Kari walked to the work table. You're not afraid? She asked. Ben looked up. I am. Then? Why fight? He paused. Then spoke without looking at her. Because fear only matters if I run. Outside. The hunter was moving through the empty streets. It didn't rush. It didn't breathe. It just calculated. Every step made no sound. Every wall it passed gave off a silent map of the heap behind it. Inside one of those walls was its target. And an old human with old weapons. That night, Kari whispered to her son in their native tongue. A lullaby, not to sleep, but to stay brave. Ben watched from the hallway. Does he understand it? He asked. Kari smiled faintly. Nah. Yet, but one day, he will remember the sound. Ben nodded. I remember my father's whistle, never the tune. Just the sound. 2:13 a.m., a soft buzz. The tripwire near the back door snapped. Ben didn't move. Kari froze. Zer's eyes opened. But he didn't make a sound. Ben reached for the flashlight. Then he paused. He didn't turn it on. He waited in darkness. The hunter entered the house like a shadow. No footsteps. Only weight. Its sensors scanned the floor. The air. The signals. It saw. Heat. It saw. Breath. It saw. Ben didn't shoot. He waited. 1, 2. Flash. The grade lit up the hallway in a burst of white. The hunter turned. Too late. Ben pulled the trigger. One shot. Straight to the shoulder. Sparks. Flew. No scream. Just movement, like a machine, correcting itself. The hunter turned its head. Toward Ben. Eyes glowing red now. Kari ran with Zur, crouching low, heart pounding. Ben yelled, "Go!" She ran to the basement, hid behind the water tank, held her child close. Above them, footsteps. Heavy. Too heavy. The hunter was inside. Ben moved fast through the kitchen. Another trap. Gas line rigged with a match. He waited. The hunter followed. He turned the valve and sparked the match. Boom. A. Small explosion. Just enough. The wall cracked. The hunter fell for 3 seconds, then rose. Its mask was broken now. Underneath, half metal, half burnt skin. Carrie saw it through the floorboards. She whispered, "It's not fully machine." Ben reloaded. "It bleeds." "That's good." Zur cried out, "Just once." That was enough. The hunter turned. Carrie held her breath. Ben appeared behind it and stabbed the broken pipe into its back. It roared. A sound like metal tearing. Kari screamed, "Now!" Ben flipped the switch. Electricity. The trap in the floor went live. The hunter shook. Sparks flying from its limbs. Ben silenced. Darkness. Ben fell to one knee, breathing hard. Kari ran to him, Zur still in her arms. Ben looked up. "Is it dead?" Kari stared at the body. "No," she said, "but it's down." Ben nodded. "Then we run. Now." They didn't pack bags, only the orb. The child. And a picture from Ben's wall. They left the house before sunrise. Behind them, the first light of morning touched the broken windows. Inside. The hunter's fingers twitched. The fight wasn't over. But now it was different because the human had fought back. The road behind them was empty. Smoke still rose from the house. Ben didn't look back. Kari held Zur tightly as they moved through the trees. She didn't speak. Neither did the child. The forest was cold. The sky above them was gray, but something had changed. Ben could feel it in Kari's silence. In Zur's eyes, and the way the world seemed to hold its breath, they stopped near an old, half-collapsed barn. It was hidden between hills. Quiet. Safe. For now. Ben started a small fire. Kari rocked Zur gently, sitting on an old blanket. Ben broke the silence. He didn't cry when the hunter came. He said. Kari didn't answer. Ben continued. Most kids would scream, but he looked calm, like he understood. Kari's eyes stayed on her son. Then, softly, she said, "Because he did understand." Ben sat down beside her. "You said the hunter doesn't want you." She nodded. Ben looked at Zur. "They want him." Kari closed her eyes. And then, for the first time, she told the truth. Zur was not born like the others, she said. Not even on my world. Ben listened, careful. Before the war, our scientists found a thing in the stars, a light older than our sun. They called it the thread of life, a signal from somewhere else. Kari looked down at her child. He was made with that light, born from it. Ben stared at her, unsure. "You mean like a miracle?" Kari smiled softly. "No, not a miracle. A message." Zur opened his eyes. Black, deep, shining with something more than sight. "He doesn't speak yet," Kari said, "but he knows things we don't." Ben leaned forward. "Like what?" Kari whispered. "He feels pain before it comes. He senses people's hearts. He dreams of places no one has seen." Ben looked at the child, now staring at the fire, like it was talking to him. "Is he dangerous?" Ben asked. Kari's voice turned sharp, protective. "No, never. But they fear him, because they don't understand him." She held Zur tighter. "They think he's a weapon, but he's not." "Then what is he?" Ben asked. Kaar I turned to. "Ben," her voice trembling but strong. "He's a bridge." Ben was silent. Then, after a long pause, he asked, "To where?" Kari looked up at the sky. To something better. The wind picked up. The fire cracked. Ben rubbed his hands together. So, what now? He asked Dot Kari stood. We move. Ben stood too. And then? Kari looked at him. We survived. Long enough for him to grow. Ben looked at Zer Dot. The boy was now holding a small rock, staring at it like he could hear it. Then something strange happened. The rock glowed. Not bright. Just faint, like a heartbeat. Ben stepped back. Kari didn't. It happens sometimes, she said, when he's calm or when he's scared. Ben whispered, he can change things. Kari nodded. Not destroy. Not control. Just connect. Ben looked again. Zer was now reaching toward him, his tiny hand open. Ben hesitated. Then he stepped closer and took it. Warmth spread through his fingers, but it wasn't just heat, Dot, it was memory. Feeling from years ago, his mother's voice. His brother's laugh. A time before war. Tears filled his eyes. Kari said nothing. She had felt it too. Zer was showing him the best parts of himself. The parts Ben thought were long dead. Ben wiped his eyes. That's why they're afraid of him. He said, because he reminds us who we really are. Kari nodded once. They fear hope. Suddenly a soft buzz. The orb in Kari's bag lit up again. Pale red. Ben looked at it. They're close. Kari stood. But now you understand why we can't stop. Ben nodded. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was about protecting. The future. Not just for Kari, but not just for Zer. For everyone. Snow was falling. Then. Quiet flakes drifted down from the sky, covering the forest in white. It looked peaceful. But peace was a lie. Because under the snow, death was coming. Ben stood on the barn roof, binoculars in one hand, an old rifle in the other. He saw it before he heard it. A shape, black, long, fast, moving between trees like smoke. The hunter was here. Again. Burnt. Repaired. Angry. More. Machine than before. More focused. Inside the barn. Kari wrapped Zer in a thick cloth and kissed his forehead. She whispered in their language. Not a goodbye. A prayer. Zer didn't cry. He just looked up at her with those deep, endless eyes that seemed older than the stars. Ben came down from the roof. They'll reach us in 2 minutes. He said. Kari nodded. No panic. Only purpose. Ben handed her a signal device. If I give you the word. He said, you run. You take him. Don't wait. Kari looked at him. You're not coming? Ben smiled. Tired, said. I already did. They prepared quickly. Tripwires. Smoke bombs. Old traps. Not enough to win, but enough to delay. Enough to buy time. Ben had learned something in war. Victory doesn't mean surviving. Sometimes it means making sure someone else does. The hunter arrived without sound. It moved through the trees like it belonged there. Ben fired the first shot. It missed. On purpose. The trap went off. Rope snapping. Fire flaring. But the hunter didn't stop. Not anymore. Ben ran. The barn shook. Smoke filled the air. Kari moved through it like shadow. Holding Zer close. Staying low. Fast. Ben stayed behind. He faced the monster with nothing but grit and fire. The hunter knocked him down. Fast. Hard. His back hit the ground. Bones screamed. It raised its blade, but paused. Zer had stepped into view. Small. Fragile. The hunter's eyes flickered. Red. To white. Ben. To something else. Call on confusion. Zer didn't run. He held out his hand. Small. Open. The same way he had done with Ben. And something began to change. The snow around him stopped falling. The trees still. The hunter froze. Like time had bent. Like the air itself was waiting. Zer looked into the machine's face and blinked. Not with fear, but with understanding. And the hunter stepped back. Its blade lowered. Its breathing changed. If it ever breathed at all. It dropped to one knee. Ben, on the ground, watched in disbelief. Kari was crying, not because of pain, but because she had seen it before. Once, long ago on a planet that no longer existed. Zer stepped forward again, touched the hunter's chest. Soft light pulsed through the armor, and the machine Spoke. Its voice broken, glitching, but clear. Error, mission, redefined, directive, protect. The war had ended, not with fire. Not with weapons. But with a child. Offering his hand, hours passed. The hunter stood guard at the edge of the barn. Silent, watching the trees. Ben sat on the steps, injured, wrapped in cloth. Carrie sat beside him, holding Zer in her arms. Ben looked at the boy. You didn't just survive, he said. You changed it. Kari smiled. He's not here to fight, she said. He's here to wake them up. Ben looked at the stars. They'll come again, won't they? Kari nodded. Yes. But this time, she said, we won't be hiding. In the morning, they walked down the hill together. All three of them, the barn behind them, the snow still falling. But now, the world felt new.